Hello, everybody. Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron. We got a special guest. So here's what happened. A couple days ago, we did a story that was dropped in our Reddit subsection. We did a story on a gentleman who is fasting for 27 days for Bernie and Tulsi. He's going to be fasting for 27 days. He's going to be doing that for Bernie and Tulsi. You can bet against him, where you say, "I don't think he's going to make it. Here's some money," or "I think he is going to make it. Here's some money." And then depending on what happens, you give or you don't give your money. So we covered that. I said that's a neat thing. That's cool that he's doing that. And I expressed my fear at that whole thing. I said, that sounds really scary. I'd be scared to do that. I'd be worried about the safety. Well, I got an email from the person doing it, and he said, "Ron, you're a phony. It's very safe. Let me tell you why you're wrong about everything." He didn't actually say that, but he did tell me it's safe, and he's going to explain it to us now. So please welcome to the show, Mr. Nial Elkim. Nial, thank you so much for doing this, and thanks for doing what you do, and we're going to talk about it. Thanks for being here.
Thanks a lot, Ron. I've been a fan for a long, long time. Obviously, I got to know you through Jimmy Dore. Miss you being on the show. I know you're still on sometimes,
but there,
not as much as before. But yeah, I'm Nial Elkim. I'm kind of I like to call myself a jagoff artist, kind of like Jimmy's a jagoff comedian, right? Who's been talking about politics his entire life. I used to have yelling matches with the high school history teachers in Orange County, California, because they were a bunch of right-wing douchebags. Not to mention my own father, but that's another story.
Oh man, yeah, that makes it tough when it's family trials. I'm kind of lucky in that regard. Most of my family's relatively progressive, so I don't really have that the way some families do. But
yeah, well, I think my family moved to Orange County for a reason.
So you're from the LA area then?
Yeah, I lived in Long Beach for a while. I'm back in Orange. Yeah, I'm back in Orange County now, in kind of the Anaheim, Orange area. But yeah, so I've been fasting for over a year, longer fasts, and I'd been doing it for health.
Wait, you haven't like not eaten for a year?
Though. No, just
okay. You mean like periodically? All right. I'm like, holy shit, how'd you do that? All right. So continue, please.
So yeah, the longest one I've done prior to this is 20 days. So I'm at 16, and I had no problems with the 20-day one.
That's incredible.
I didn't even have to take like a bunch of electrolytes or anything for that. It was very minimal, just water, get some sun, get enough sleep, that kind of thing. And I'll go over some of the danger signs here in a second, just to forewarn people and give them some precaution. Although I'll say if you have any serious medical conditions, you probably want some expert medical advice before you go into it, and go slow, short ones before long ones, kind of common sense. But so I'm doing a 27-day water fast, which means no calories. I can do black coffee and whatever's in this, which is natural essence and carbonated water, right?
Okay.
0 calorie. Tea, things like that. I can smoke a cigar if I want. Not that I do that often.
Well, so let's before we get into kind of like some of the health aspects of this, I want to talk about that because I'm curious. But why are you doing this? Like, why is this the action you're doing? Like, talk about this 27-day fast. What's kind of the mechanisms? How do people contribute to this? And why did you pick this particular action?
So if you go to at Nial Elkim, you will, which is NIALELKIM, and that's it. You'll find my sticky post is a video with Nico House, who is gracious enough to have me on his show, like Ron is here. And you can either watch that, or in his description, in the thread of that Twitter thread, at the very bottom is the link to the original tweet. I wasn't sure. I wish you could sticky more than one thing on Twitter. So you go and you find either the link on Nikos's video or my Twitter through that link, and you And really, you could do it anywhere. You could email me at nialelkim@gmail.com. You could do that too. And just tell me, I'm going to pledge $25 for 25 days. If I make it past 25 days, then you're triggered to donate either to Bernie Sanders or Tulsi Gabbard. I also included Mike Gravel because I think he's also very good. I want him in the debates. He's more of a protest candidate, get his ideas out there candidate.
Yep, and he made it. He made it for July.
Right. And I just recently did a $1 to all three kind of bonus one before the deadline to the next debates. And I want to offer another version too. Some people don't want to give money, but maybe if they would be willing to do a little more volunteering or some other action, or put a Bernie sticker on their car, or a Tulsi sticker on their car, or a Mike Gravel sticker on their car, they can do that too. Like, I'm not going to turn down any kind of additional political action that people are willing to do. Go to a protest or a rally that you wouldn't have otherwise, in solidarity with my fast. Fasting and hunger strikes, and this is not a hunger strike because I'm not putting my health at risk by doing this. This is actually should make me healthier, really.
And you are a nurse, correct?
Right. Yeah, I'm a registered nurse.
So you know what you're doing.
Yeah, no longer practicing, but I practiced for 6 years, and my wife has been a practicing nurse for more than 15 years. And she deals.
Is she on board with what you're doing?
Yeah, she's on board. She tried and she wanted to do more, but she has really bad insomnia, and it triggers her insomnia. So and it makes her like sick. So she's just like, no, I'm not going to do that. But I do want to just really quick, some danger signs. If you get a little orthostatic hypotension, which is you change body position and you get lightheaded, if you get a little of that, that's fine, right? If you're going to feel a little weaker, especially if you haven't done it very much before, your body's not used to adapting to ketones, that's fine. If you feel really, really weak, like you're, made of clay that won't move, that's not right. That's not good, right?
Well, what's like an amount of fatigue that's acceptable? Because obviously you're probably going to feel some fatigue, right? Like, but if you're doing a fast like this, like what's kind of the acceptable amount?
Well, actually, a lot of people have the opposite. They have more energy during a fast, but I've found that the type of energy you get is more like organizational, stand on your feet and do something, which is kind of low energy output with fine motor movements. And sitting in front of a computer, organizing things, you become very organizational. I've been dehydrating foods like crazy because I don't want them to go bad. But gross motor movement, so heavy labor, which I do most of the time during my day. I've been doing it during this fast, pouring concrete, digging dirt, building retaining walls, lugging 90-pound sacks of concrete around, and the 75-pound bricks for the retaining wall. That kind of thing. I lose about 30% energy from not fasting, and that's fine. If I rest for a bit, it comes back. It just takes longer for your body to refill the glycogen stores in the muscles. I would also say persistent cramping, not a good sign. A persistent splitting headache, not a good sign. Obviously, if you have any chronic conditions and medications, especially any kidney injury, diabetic condition, these are things that you really want expert advice, and there is good expert advice out there now. There are fasting camps you can go to. Dr. Jason Fung, MD, head of medicine at Toronto Medical Center in Canada, runs a fasting clinic to cure diabetes, type 2 diabetes, and he has wonderful materials, and he's a straight shooting guy. He's not some like mystical, Nostradamus-y kind of guy. He's just like, this works. These are the practical aspects of how it works. And there are people right now doing much longer fasts just for their health. The longest fast on record is over 400 days, which was a Scottish guy. And he lived a long life after that.
And that's okay? Like, how is that not? That's over a year. Like,
Well,
how do you do that?
well, your body stores fat to
That's scary as hell.
right to as a battery for energy when you're not eating. No, very few animals, especially long-lived animals and especially mammals, go all the time eating. The eat all the time thing is a modern civilization thing, and it somewhat correlates with the onset of a lot of disease as well, because what your body does is it can do some repair and maintenance while you're eating, but mostly it's just storing energy. And it requires you to not have eaten for like more than 24 hours before it can really start cleaning things up. So as you're fasting longer and longer, your body will go after damaged cells. So like cancer, damaged organelles within the cells. It'll get rid of bacteria it doesn't think are very useful. So it becomes very skilled at finding resources wherever it can, and it goes after the bad stuff first.
So it
Some
kind
of
of
the
cleanses
people,
itself.
yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
So that's why they use, so it kind of cleanses itself. So that's why they use the words like cleanse and stuff like that.
Right, and they say they see new stem cell production, and the longest lived people in the world are pretty much unanimously agreed to be the low calorie people, the low calorie society, and they're eating like 1,200 calories a day. I don't do that. I don't. I go on and off. I think it's better, but they're
Why
stimulating
is it better?
because I think humans are cyclical and animals are cyclical. You're supposed to have feast and famine, right? So you eat during when the season's right to eat, and all the plants have the fruit and the vegetables out, and the animals are easy to catch. And when it's winter and you can't even go outside because it's so cold, or whatever, or it's a heat wave, right? You don't eat and you live off of your fat, right? So it works very well, and this is a well explored area. Lots and lots of people are doing this now in the last few years. So you can dive deep into this if you want. But my point is mostly be smart, research, and just approach it in a rational way. But that I'm not putting myself at danger. I'm not that much of a hero. Trust me.
You are to me. Hey, look, I deal with stress by eating, which I know is bad. You don't need to tell me it's unhealthy. I know that. I just know
Oh,
there are worse vices I could have. I don't
I
turn
do.
to the
I do the same.
bottle. It's better than turning to the bottle, I think, in some cases. That could be argued. So that's how so the idea, I mean, I did an intermittent fasting thing, and even that was like, I was like, oh man, it's after 9 p.m. and I can't have a pretzel. How am I going to deal? Like, I've gotten better about it. But so why, getting it back into the political realm, why did you choose this specific action? Just kind of like get involved thing, just kind of having a niche thing that's special to you? Like why did you pick this specifically?
Well, I mean, it just occurred to me as something I'm good at. That's interesting to me. I wanted to do a longer fast anyway, so it's kind of keeps me motivated. And fasting has just been a huge main component of protest for a long time, especially if you're somebody who doesn't have a big platform, you're not attached to a big activist movement like I am. I'm attached to my family. I got 2 kids and a wife, and I work 6 out of 7 days of the week, and I don't get home until 9 o'clock usually, right? Because I'm commuting.
Well, what's your thing now? Do you work with, I mean, you mentioned laying concrete and stuff like that. Are you in construction or?
Well, my wife's parents do okay, and they have their own business interests. And my father-in-law has cancer. He has prostate cancer that metastasized. So it's not the prostate cancer that everyone has that doesn't mean anything. When I was working in hospice, I had like 60% of my patients over 65 that were men had prostate cancer listed, but you're just kind of like, you check for the details, the H&P, and see if there's anything actually got done about that, or if
Oh yeah, no, my dad had that, and yeah, it was one of those things. Like it's when they catch it at the right time, it's incredibly treatable.
yeah.
And it's something I think, like, there's a statistic where pretty much if you reach 80, you're going to have some variation of it. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, I think
Like it's very common in men.
right.
Is the point?
Within the modern industrial food, industrial health complex, I would say yes. If you were an indigenous person, I would say if you went to indigenous people and you found somebody had never contacted Western civilization or just civilization in general, you probably wouldn't find it,
Right.
because there's other things, but yes, but he did not catch it in time. It burst out of the capsule and it spread all over his body, and he had to get his lymph nodes removed and all that. He's doing
Sorry.
okay. And sorry.
I said I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh, yeah, is what it is. He decided to go on vacation instead of getting the surgery right away. Part of it's him, but yeah, we're very concerned about him. But he's still helping me work to a certain extent. He likes to stay active. He's one of those guys that's just work, work, work. So I drive him around because he's tired a lot of the time, or he doesn't want to focus on the driving. He's like 70 now. And I just help him do everything he needs to do with all of their investments, and it's all real estate stuff. So,
Okay.
And for us that works. I get to be around my family more. I get to infect him with my health ideas more, which I hope are gonna help him survive his cancer.
Totally.
He's starting to go on the keto thing, all organic food without the pesticides and herbicides. Staying away from industrial American meat that has a lot of hormones in it.
All right, so that's my next question.
Yeah.
When you are eating, what diet do you adhere to?
Well, when I'm not
you're not fasting.
when I'm not stress eating by going to like a hometown buffet and eating as much as I can, or sneaking out and getting a Domino's pizza, or
You have your vices. You're human too. Yeah.
I'm a stress eater too. So, I was getting, like, when I was a nurse, as a hospice nurse, working within what is a very sales oriented part of nursing, where they're trying to get new clients and they're bribing the people that have the keys to patients, the access holders. I was getting sicker and sicker. So I was gaining more and more weight. I got really bad gout attacks where I'd be crippled for like a month. I couldn't walk. And my blood pressure was going way up. Thankfully, my hypothyroid didn't come back, but that's because I was still avoiding gluten, and gluten was the trigger for my hypothyroid for 15 years. But yeah, what was the original question?
What's your diet when you're not? Vices aside. So when you're not stress eating, when you're just,
So ideally, and I know I get into some fights with people on the left because I'm not I'm not vegan or vegetarian. I don't advocate that diet. I advocate like an open grazing, non-industrial fed for meats and wild caught stuff, right? No farm raised. So I don't like industrial meat production at all, but I do advocate a lot of animal product consumption. And I disagree that would be a contributor to global warming if we did it the right way. Because if you look at like the Dust Bowl, a lot of that was contributed to by us wiping out the buffalo and the bison, right? In order to stick it to the Native Americans, which was a big part of why we did that. It wasn't just to take the hides. It was also because we wanted to deprive the Native American of their source of food. After they died, the grasslands died. And then it all turned into dust, and that became the Dust Bowl, right? So all of that grassland was carbon sequestration, because ruminant animals are walking fertilizers and watering machines, right? So they keep everything alive. And if with our current population, if we go to a just vegetable and fruit diet and nuts and seeds, we're going to, the way that process works is we don't allow animals into those areas. They kill those, they kill any rodents, any deer, they don't want any animals in there. So it becomes an incomplete ecosystem. And we need a food system that mirrors nature's ecosystem, right, as closely as we can. So that would mean having ruminant animals using their fertilizer, not fertilizer from ruminants that have been fed pesticide-laden grains and soybeans. And I even heard a story recently that there was a truck that collapsed or crashed, and they dumped like 5 tons of Skittles on the road, and it was going to go to a cattle ranch, and they were going to feed it to the cattle. to like fatten them up right before the end. And these were like mislabeled Skittles. So it was like the defects, right?
Mhm.
So but I do eat a lot of vegetables. I advocate a lower sugar diet generally, more of a ketogenic. So half your plate or 3/4 of your plate could still be vegetables and seeds and nuts and stuff because they're just not as many calories. But then the last quarter of my plate would be some kind of meat, right? Or eggs
Okay.
or sour cream or yogurt or something like that.
Okay. Okay. So you're okay with dairy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Dairy, I'm fine with. Obviously, well, there's a portion of the population that has evolved to do cow dairy okay, and I'm one of them. I don't have any issues with that. At least I
Okay.
haven't noticed any. But
See, I might not be because I've tried a lot of different things. I've done Whole30s. I've done like a keto kind of oriented thing. Then I tried going vegan for a while, and the vegan I liked the best. I felt really good, and I'm still I still have a mostly vegan diet. And I think the big thing for me, it's not so much meats as much as it is cutting out dairy has really helped me a lot.
right, and that might be, yeah, and that's the thing. Like my health thing kind of started maybe 10 years ago with a guy named Chris Kresser, who's licensed. He was originally a licensed acupuncturist, but he almost died of a tropical disease, and he spent years and years doing different diets. And he has all kinds of free materials online. He has plenty of ways to make money too. He's running a school now
All
to
right.
train doctors to be what are called functional medicine specialists, which is not like the other types of medicine that are kind of hippy dippy and I think a lot of fraud in them. But what he says about the vegan diet is that a lot of people will get better in the first year and a half if they just do strict vegan, because what they're doing is cutting out a lot of stuff that's hurting them. So it's a partial elimination diet.
So then they find out what helps them.
Right. Well, you
And
find out that within the group of
okay.
everything they stopped eating, there's something bad.
Right. Okay.
But
Interesting.
but they're usually become very deficient in a lot of areas that are really important, like B vitamins, right? No matter what vegetables you eat, and fruits and vegetables and nuts and anything else, there's going to be a certain number of B vitamins you're just not going to get. They're not easily used by the body from the plant. They'll say they are, but they're not. And so you're always going to have issues there, and that can cause serious problems later on. But he did vegan for a while. He was a macro, what he calls like a macro vegan. But he also talks
Wow, I've
about,
never heard that. What does that mean?
I think that means it's like a whole food vegan. So he didn't eat like the processed vegan
Oh,
food, right?
interesting. Okay.
But he advocates for people that have health issues to do an elimination diet. So he lists like what you can eat that is known to almost never cause health issues, and you start there, and then you add things like 1 week at a
Okay.
time,
Interesting.
and then you find out, oh, that's what it is.
It's an
Like,
interesting topic. I mean, we talk about diet a lot on my show, and it's sort of from an exploratory standpoint. Like we're like, hey, I tried this. This went well for me. This didn't go well for me. What went well for you guys? What didn't go well for you guys? And it's it's an interesting thing, and I'm always interested in learning more. But we're kind of out of time here, so I want to get back to what
politics.
you're doing here. Yeah, your activism real
Politics.
quick here to kind of sign off. So, do you think anyone's not going to actually give? I know. So the way it's set up, people are technically betting on you, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure everybody who has already pledged, no matter what you do, they're gonna give. What day are you on, first of all?
So today's day 16.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Feeling very good. We're going to go to the beach today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're not gonna be like, I want fish tacos. You're not gonna be like,
Oh, I always want things. Like I said, I've been dehydrating everything that's about to go bad, and I went and got some meat to make beef jerky, but I've got like five of the big mason jars full of dehydrated orange slices right now,
mason jar, fellow mason jar holder. Yes.
which are going to be amazing. But I think
Do your kids ever mess with you? Like, do your kids and your wife ever met? Like, they have a piece of pizza and like, oh, Dad, this is so great. Like,
no, we're all weird. We're all in the same thread. but yeah, I think men, our testosterone goes way down during a fast. You actually become more empathetic. And I think it's because men are expendable and women are not. So in a period of low food, it would be normal for a man to find food but not eat it. So he would give it to the
Interesting.
mother with the children or the
Okay.
children because they would suffer permanent damage or they would lose a child if they didn't get that food right away. And you can just go through your fat stores and even in extreme cases, some of your meat, your muscle stores, and you will be okay as long as you eventually get food, right? So yeah, I find it satisfying to work with food. Though food advertisements kill me, like or someone posts a picture or something like, ah, it looks really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, politically, I do want to say because I've talked. This is how my mind works. I go on tangents. Um, Politically, I'll say I think this election is a critical point. This is a point where we either go towards total absolute fascism um, because we don't gain control of the of politics at this time, or we start to gain control of politics for regular people with someone like Bernie Sanders or Tulsi Gabbard, right? And that would be the start of that, uh, because it's just there's so many eventualities happening right now with artificial intelligence, robotics, global warming. Um, uh, just the consolidation of power around the world, the coordination of different governments and corporations, um, that if we don't do something now, um, they're not going to need these populations anymore. And the solution for billionaires is going to be to reduce population, right? And I, yeah, I don't want to see that happening. So it's going to be a violent struggle between the people with the drones that can find you wherever you are and kill you in a nanosecond, and the regular people. Maybe some of them operate those drones, and that's how we win. But I don't want to have that fight. So I think everyone needs to dig a lot deeper. And I think I know Bernie Sanders has a few issues. Like I didn't like that he abandoned Tim Canova. I didn't like that he campaigned for Hillary Clinton. I don't like a lot of the little things that he's done. I didn't like that he called Maduro a dictator, but he is our best hope right now. And building a movement around Bernie Sanders, volunteering for him, signing up for his Slack, going to his rallies, donating, all these things, it builds a movement that even if he doesn't win, we can redirect the energy of that movement towards either a third party or mass resistance, direct democracy movement like Occupy, but 10 times bigger than Occupy, right?
All right.
And
So
so
where can
all
people
good
learn
roads,
more about you?
yeah, all good roads lead through Bernie Sanders, I think, right now. Sorry, what was
So
the
so
question?
where can people learn more about you? Where can people go to find out more?
Oh, so my main thing is at Nial Elkim on Twitter, and then I'm also at Nial Elkim at Gmail on YouTube. But I just go to the Twitter and find a link. It's in my description because if you like, I've Googled myself before and it won't show up. I only have like 150 subscribers right now, even though I've done like 100 videos. But that's because I suck at marketing. But I've been doing interviews with candidates, very left progressive candidates. So Summer Miller for Congress in Massachusetts. What was the last one I did? Rebecca Parson in Washington. And these are very left, Bernie supporting candidates that are trying to primary Democrats or just win a district. And you can watch those, and those are deep dives. These are not softball interviews. We go into issues. They're fun, usually like 45 minutes, stuff like that. And I'm a jagoff on Twitter, and I have been for the last few years, and I love it. And I'm trying, I'm up to like 4,600 followers, and I'm trying to get that bigger.
All right.
People say that anybody trying to make a name for themselves, they kind of poo-poo it, on the internet. That's a popular thing. But if I never make a living off of social media, that's okay. But all of us, you need to get noticed for who you are so people know they can trust you as a source. So all kinds of us need to have some level of recognizability in social media. It's part of the political revolution. So don't be ashamed of doing it, is
All
what
right.
I would say to people.
Obviously, I agree with you as somebody who tweets all the time. Niall, thank you so much for doing this. Guys, we are totally out of time, but follow Niall at Nial Elkim on Twitter. He is on day 16, and we'll check in with you at day 27, see how it goes. I'm pretty confident. I'm pretty confident you're going to make it. I would not bet against you, but you can go, you can pledge some money, and you can make a bet for fun. But either way, you know, people are going to be donating that money. They're going to be donating that time, which is cool. Thank you for doing what you do. At Nial Elkim on Twitter. Follow him. Check out his channel. Niall, thanks so much for doing this. We'll chat with you again soon.
Thanks so much, Ron.
Cheers, buddy.